you aren't familiar with Abe Laboriel, then definitely watch on, as I'll be teaching you one of his funky bass lines from the song New Frontier by Donald Fagen. Now, Donald Fagen was one of the founding members of Steely Dan, and a few of you have requested some Steely Dan bass lines, so this is the closest I've got to so far. Steely Dan are a really interesting band. They're kind of quite hard to place. They're quite unusual kind of sound. They put out real songs with a kind of 70s LA vibe, but they're quite jazzy and quite kind of fusiony at the same time. Abe Laboriel is a really monster bass player. He's a Mexican guy. He's played on thousands of hit records. He plays with artists like Al Jarreau, George Benson, Larry Carlton, loads of others. So definitely check him out. He's worth looking at. He's a really funky, solid bass player. There's nothing really technical to play on the New Frontier bass line. It's a really fun bass line to play, really solid groove line. Now, it's quite a hard one to teach because there are loads of different sections that change slightly as you go through the bass line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the main sections, then I'm going to play the entire bass line through with a backing track. And I'll also leave the backing track running at the end for you so you can play through and practice yourself. The backing track was put together by a friend of mine, a guitarist called Tim Rose. Now, he's got a great YouTube channel as well. He covers loads of fusion tracks for guitarists, and he's got a series called Guitar in the Real World, so that's worth checking out. I'll put a link below to his channel. And the drummer is John Humphreys. He's a drummer I've played with since the mid-90s, a really great, solid drummer. So both of those are on the backing track, so you'll get a chance to play with those at the end of the video. Now, the transcription of the bass line is really important for this lesson because, as I said, there's lots of little changes as you go through. So I've put that on a PDF. There's standard notation and tab. You can get that by clicking the link below in the description. So I suggest that you download that first and then have that alongside when you're looking at the lesson. So that will really help. So last thing before we get on to the lesson, remember to subscribe to Greg's Bass Shed, to my channel. You can click the red subscribe button and also click the notification bell and you'll get notified when I release a new lesson. So the intro starts with a bass pickup. So we've got G sharp, A and A sharp, 2 notes on each. And it starts on 2. So we count in 1, 2, and you'll hear the clicks on the backing track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then to B. Okay, then the rhythm of the main groove throughout, really, the loose kind of rhythm, it changes slightly, but it's ba 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 ba, and the main groove just uses root, third, major third, and fifth, so it's an arpeggio really. So if you start on B, the 7th fret of the E string, you've got root, major third, fifth. Now I play that root, major third, fifth there, and the reason being is Abe Laboriel put some really nice slides in when he plays the bass line throughout the whole bass line. Now I know that he started on the fretless, used to play a lot of fretless at the beginning of his career, so that probably kind of came over from that, where he kind of still wants to put these slides in, sound really nice. Okay, so slide into those D sharps. So we've got B, D sharp, and then F sharp, and again, and then you're in the right position to play this D here to C sharp. Okay, so we've got B, D, C sharp, and now that C sharp is pushed, so it's on forehand, so you play it just before beat 1. C sharp, F sharp, pushed again, B, pushed again, and then E. Okay, so I'll just play that for you. So from the start of the intro. So 3, 4, 1. And then we've got the pattern on E. The slide. And that's from the beginning of the intro. G sharp, A sharp. Okay, so loosely that kind of intro is B, D, C sharp, F sharp, B, and then E. Okay, so for those of you who don't know from the PDF, when you go through so after the pickup, that's a repeat mark when you've got the 2 dots and the brackets, and you go through, then you play the first time bar where you've got that 1 all the way to that second repeat sign, repeat back, and then the second time miss out that for anything underneath the first time bracket and go straight to the second time bracket, so then you move on. Okay, so so the first time you've got the pickup and then 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 bars, you go back and then 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then jump to the second time bar, and then second time bar you've got these E's. And then we're into the verse, and that's where the vocals come in. So and then we've got the same kind of groove, but this time on A. And then this time I would play the fifth on the A string as well. So remember the arpeggio, major arpeggio on A this time? There are our three notes. And then on this A, okay, so that's a nice little octave pattern there. A, G, A. And another thing, Abe Laboriel, when he plays it, he plays a really interesting mix for his articulation of short and long notes. So generally kind of, this is kind of short and then long, long, okay? And these are short, fairly short. And those two are long. Okay, now an interesting thing about the verse, kind of each section's really only 7 bars long. So if you look through on the PDF for the verse, you've got three bars of A, and then 4 bars of E. Okay, and then it goes kind of the second section, 3 bars of A, and then 4 bars of E. And then we're on to the kind of tag bit at the end of the verse. 1 2 3 4 5, and that's 7 again. Okay, so it kind of, you'll probably hear that when you're playing through. You might get a little bit lost with the sections. You're kind of going to be expecting 8 bar sections, but it's 7 bars, so just so you're aware of that. So at the beginning of the verse, you've got kind of 3 bars of A, and then E, 4 bars, and then again it repeats the same thing again. And then the last bit of the verse, we've got A, D, C. Okay, so in that's the only really place where the groove radically changes in the whole piece. You kind of play these offbeat C's. So this is from, if you look the last 2 lines, so of page 1. So A, D, C, do, 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 do. Okay. 1 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 and 3 and 4 and then back to E. Okay, so the last 2 lines again. Back to E. And then you've got the first time bar, and then that repeats to the beginning of the verse. So we've got verse 2 there, and it comes all the way through, and then we go, remember you miss out the first time bar and you jump to the second time bar, which is the last bar of that page. Okay, then we skip to the next page and we've got the hook. Now this is 2 bars of E, and you're probably kind of recognising sections now. There's kind of distinct patterns really. So we've got this E, and then we've got A, E, D, D sharp, G sharp. We've got a nice little lick there. Okay, so I'll look at that. So that's the second bar of the second line of the hook. So we've got C sharp, and we've got a kind of little one of those, kind of got to move really fast to get that. It only kind of really works when you're playing through the bass line. Quite hard to kind of play that on its own. Now you could play it there, but I kind of quite like playing, you got F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp. I like playing it there. I kind of find it easy to play that kind of slide there. It kind of sounds a bit fatter. So that second line, G sharp, C sharp, and then F sharp. So F sharp, F sharp, C, B, B flat. Okay, so that's an 8 bar section, that hook. So I'll play the whole hook for you. That's the first 2 lines of the second page. 3, 4. And then we're into the verse again. So there is a really nice lick here at the end of the verse. So that's the kind of tag at the end of the verse. So on the second page, the 6th line, I'll play from the 2nd bar. So that's from the D, F sharp, A, F sharp, D, C. Okay, it's quite nice to slide up there rather than playing the F sharp on the D string. Okay, and that last bar as well, before we go to the guitar solo. There's a few extra notes in there. So that's a really nice lick that Abe Laboriel puts in. And there's an interview floating around with him talking about when he actually recorded this bass line. Now, anyone that played for Steely Dan or Donald Fagen, they kind of went in the studio and they had some quite strict parts that had to play. They kind of messed around with it. He said that he played a really simplified version of it, and it was like, no, I don't really like that. Then he played a bit more of a complicated bass line, and then they kind of met in the middle somewhere. So he kind of really grounds the song all the way through this bass line, but puts some really nice little bits in. Okay, and we look at the so really that's the kind of the verse and the hook and the intro sorted. If you look at the guitar solo, again, this is a bit like the verse. So 1, 2, 3, that's only 5 bars, and repeats again, and then goes to the second time bar. And in the second time bar, there's a nice little slide again. And so if this is the last, second from last line of the second page, I'll start from the 2nd bar. Okay, so it's similar to that, but this time jump up to the B, D, B, D, C. Okay, so that's a nice little bit there in the guitar solo. Okay, the rest of the guitar solos, really, you've seen all that stuff in the verse, and then we've got the hook on the last page, the verse again, and then there's a sort of jam. There's an ending jam that goes round and round. Now the chart I've put 4 times. Actually, the backing track only does it 3 times before it breaks right down. But on the original track, it goes around 4 times. So this is the kind of the same as the intro. Got that last bit there. And that just goes round and round, and you've seen all that before in the intro. And then there's a kind of just a breakdown bit, really nice bit with the guitar where the bass is finished. So I've gone through that quite quickly, but hopefully that's given you the real basis of the tune. Now, definitely get the PDF, so you've got the transcription. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play through like the whole bass line with the backing track. So anything you kind of couldn't work out that I didn't cover in the lesson, you should be able to see in this bit now. Then once I've done that, I'm going to leave the backing track running, so there'll be no bass on there, so you can get the PDF and you can run through it as many times as you want to and really practice. And it's really, really fun just to sit with this tune. If you're a kind of beginner, then you can just learn a few sections of it, put some basic parts in and just have fun with the backing track. So remember to pick up the PDF, subscribe to me below, and if you want any more bass resources, I've got books, video courses, loads more free stuff on my website, gbshed.com. Just go and check that out. So quickly now I'll look at the form of the song, and then I'll play through the backing track. So the form of the song is intro, verse, verse, hook, verse, guitar solo, hook, verse, and then that ending jam. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you enjoy watching the playthrough that I'm going to do now. And remember, the backing track will be there for you afterwards.